What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know I didn't think I was going to do this episode 4 review till I was getting back from Portugal. I had mentioned in the last video, episode 3, that I was going to go to Portugal. I don't know if I'd be able to watch today's episode. Today is Friday. I just finished watching it. It's 10:50 in the morning, so I just spent the last 70 minutes watching the last episode. But I'm really glad that I'm able to record it and watch it, record it, and upload this. I hope to have this up, I think, Sunday. I think I'm going to schedule this out. But really great episode. It was fun again. And the whole time, I mentioned it last time, the last video, that I was just like, the Harfoots, I'm kind of like, why do we need them? Or I'm just finding myself bored of that story. And I was kind of like, I really hope they don't bring out the Harfoots in this episode, and they didn't. And I was happy about that. And I didn't find myself wanting to know more about that story or wanting to know more about what's going on with them or anything. I was kind of like, I'm okay not knowing. I'm just way more interested in, like, what's going on in this episode and, you know, how that played out. Especially, like, kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but we got to see, and I mentioned it again last video, that we're probably going to see Bronwyn again and Theo, because we didn't see him last episode, and we did. So that was cool. And we'll get into that specific storyline in a little bit. But a lot of stuff happened. I'm enjoying the openings of these episodes. Like the third and fourth one have been really good. Of course, the first two, it's kind of different because you're setting up a whole series with those episodes. But now, like the third and fourth episodes, you're setting up the episode itself. So it's a little bit less... It's like broader strokes purposes for those first two episodes, but the third and fourth, they did it well. And like this one, you have the Queen Regent, and she's with the babies and everything, doing that ceremony, and they start seeing the petals coming in from the white tree, and then the waves start hitting, and the city's drowning, and she just gets hit with all this tidal wave of water, and then she wakes up. So cool. Spoiler alert, if you guys don't know, the city of Numenor does get sunk into the ocean. Sunk into the ocean. The city is drowned. It's like Atlantis. The sea consumes it. And it's not the only city that happens to. I believe Lindon, same thing happens to it as well, if you didn't know. So that dream does come true. But super cool to see that in like the show, her dreaming it. Super scary. Let's see. Galadriel requesting to meet the father of the queen, the true king, which she said, the true ruler of Numenor. It was ballsy, to say the least. She is not afraid to get what she wants, but again, I think I mentioned it in the first 2-episode video review. Like, I get it, she's more ambitious, she's younger, she's not like this high and tight, you know, like, like, you know, kind of person. And she is, you know, she's like, I gotta do whatever I can to defend the people of Middle Earth, defend my people, blah, 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 blah. And I get that, but it's also like, she just kind of, she's a little rough around the edges. But I'm enjoying, I'm coming to enjoy her character more and more, but she's definitely on the lower tier of characters on the show. Like, I found myself just, every time Elendil's on screen, I'm just like, oh, that dude's awesome. But anyways, yeah, so she gets locked up, which I kind of figured, like, what else was gonna happen? Halbrand's teasing her while she's in prison. Then we back to Arondir and Adar. I totally forgot that Adar is Quenya for father. We hear Arwen say that in the original trilogy numerous occasions. And I can't believe I didn't pick that up in the first one, but it was just kind of weird because like the orcs were speaking Elvish to this guy who seems to be an elf. I have a few notes here. He asks Arondir where he's from, and he says Beleriand, and he's like, from the mouth of the river. He's like, I've been there a time. So is he just like, let me keep going. And he's, you know, a new world needs to be created to change the old lies, because the lies are so old that even the roots in the rocks believe them. And but that's the matter of the gods to create the new world. I'm not a god yet. So I'm like, interesting. I still think he's just a random servant. I don't think he's anybody specific from any of the works of Tolkien. But he's definitely an eerie character, definitely creepy. He killed that orc. Like, look, he was healing him, but he just kills him. That was interesting. And then we saw that the orc was wearing the chest piece of Arendir's elves, like the wood elves people, which isn't a first thing it's not the first time we've seen that. If you watched the original trilogy, you'll see that. It's more the extended, not extended editions, I should say, the behind the scenes that you'll notice it, unless you watch like the extras, but it's usually really quick. Or if you've seen like some promotional photography and just a lot of BTS stuff, there's orcs who are wearing Gondorian armor. Actually, you do see it in the Siege of Osgiliath in Return of the King. You'll see it. Some of the orcs are wearing Gondorian armor, and the Thilian Rangers cloaks and their leather outfits. So they did. So it makes sense. So that was kind of cool. Just a little nod to that. Later on, when Elrond is talking to Prince Durin after the cave collapses, which again we'll get into, I was noticing that Adar's chest plate has like this has the same design as Elrond's vestments did, and his lower vestments from like, I don't want to call it the skirt, but I guess that's what it is. Not on his not on Elrond's chest piece, but on his skirt. It's the same exact design. The only difference is Elrond's are like white and like a greenish color, and then Adar's are all black and silver. But it's the same thing. It's like on Tolkien's maps, the rivers, like the flowing rivers, it's a bunch of those. Pay attention to that. They're the same. So that's what begs the question that maybe Adar is an elf, a fallen elf. It could be a dark elf. I don't know. I don't remember, or I'm not well versed in the corruption of elves. The only extent is to elves being corrupted to become orcs. That's the only thing that I can think of. But other than that, what do you guys think Adar's, like, is he somebody from works of Tolkien, or did JD and Patrick make this specific character for the show? Let me know what you guys think. Let's see. Back to the other storyline, and I usually, like, sometimes people say like it's annoying to switch back and forth, but I love it. Lord of the Rings has always done that, whether it's through the books or the films, and I liked it in this. Isildur, hears his name being called into the west, and he loosens the ropes from the boat, and he gets him and his two friends dismissed from the cadet school, from the Navy, whatever it's called, and they're pissed, rightly so. So poor guy. Then Theo goes back into town to get food. That was, good for him. But it was interesting because he's in the tavern, and I thought like there was going to be some more mischief about like, okay, I want to go back to where I stole the hilt from the Morgul blade from and see what that was about. But no, he was genuinely just trying to help people, which was interesting. I like that, But I think it would have been more interesting if he was just trying to like be mischievous, and try to find out like, okay, what else is there? I want to learn more about these people, these orcs, or something like that. But it was fine that he was just like, okay, I'm trying to actually find food for people, which was nice. His homie's like, don't go in the tavern, dude. And then he leaves him out there, and the guy's like, this friend's just like, oh, this is creepy. And of course, the door closes slowly, and then just pure darkness. And then I knew like that orc's gonna be behind him. He slices the bag of grain, and he starts fighting him, and he freaking like stabs himself. He goes like that to get the blood in order to make the blade long, and then he cuts, I think, the forearm of the orc. And then they chase him, and then he hides in the well till nightfall. That was cool. Let's see. Then we go back to Numenor, and Galadriel, freaking, she's in the prison, and then they're like, okay, we're going to escort you out with Pharazôn, and she puts the guards in the jail cell, which was cool. It was a cool little scene. And she breaks into the tower, and she sees the king and the Queen Regent in there, and then the Queen Regent takes her to, I think, just higher up in the tower, where freaking Palantir was. As soon as, like, okay, I'm going too far. As soon as she walks in, Galadriel is on camera, and we see a sword right in front of her. That sword reminds me of Isildur's sword. Obviously not Narsil. But like, if you don't really notice it in the film because it's quick, but if you ever collected the toys like I did, like the Toy Biz Lord of the Rings ones are like this big, it looks just like his sword. Color's a little bit different, but it would make sense because Numenor or Isildur, and then they go off and blah blah blah. So it looked like that. I don't know if that was a little homage or that wasn't purposeful, but it looked like it. So it's cool. But then as soon as the wide angle shot of the room, and then there's like a pillar with a round thing on top of it with a blanket over it. I'm like, oh, it's a freaking Palantir, dude. Like, immediately we know it's a Palantir. So cool. You know, the hand, she puts her hand on it and it cracks, and then it goes outward, and then it like zooms in to kind of see like this. That was cool. I don't know, but I feel like I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was cool. I don't know if I liked it 100%, but it was a new idea and a new way of showing the visions through the Palantir. Because obviously in the original trilogy of Lord of the Rings, we saw Aragorn use it, Pippin use it, Saruman use it, so on and so forth. But that was awesome. Let's see. Yeah, all I wrote in my notes is freaking Palantir. Okay, so back, Theo is running out of the town, and he's just escaping the orcs left and right, and then he gets captured by one of them. His arm almost gets cut off, but it's actually Arondir who saves him, and I was like, I knew, oh, Arondir's got to save him right now. And that was cool. Interesting, where did he get his stuff from? Did he just go back through that cave, or maybe they just gave it back to him, here, take your weapons and stuff? I don't really know how that would have worked. But that's just minutia of a show of TV and movies that we don't worry about. But you suspend your disbelief, we say. Arondir sees Theo, and they run from the town and run into Bronwyn in the forest. Okay. Pretty cool scene through the woods. I liked it. It's a little, like, dark. I felt like I was watching Game of Thrones. I had to turn off all my lights because it's obviously morning, so I turned off all my lights, and it was still like, I was just still kind of like, I can't really see everything too much. Like when Theo's running in the woods, that was kind of, excuse me, in the town, and even those flames here and there, it was just still kind of dark to me. But then the running in the woods, that was cool. A lot of slow motion shots. I've been seeing a lot of people complaining about the slow motion, like, no more slow motion horseback riding shots that we saw in episode 3, which I forgot to mention. Beautiful scene. I love that. Oops. I love that. I thought it was super beautiful and just showed like the cinematography and the scale and the professionalism of the show. And I didn't really like when it close up shot of Galadriel's face. It kind of looked weird in the slow motion. Because when you're riding at in slow motion, you're just like the wriggles in your face. It just kind of looked funny. But like the horse and like her clothes, like, you know, moving in the wind, freaking beautiful, dude. That was awesome. Like when we get a large scale battle, like you guys gotta have a slow motion like running shot or a horseback riding shot. That was beautiful. So I would say definitely incorporate that again. That was really beautiful. But yeah, people were like, no more slow motion shots, and you just have to be careful with slow motion shots. I found myself like in that scene, it would have been cooler if we saw, it's very similar to Fellowship of the Ring when the Uruk-hai are chasing the Fellowship on the river. Like it was just like boom, running shots, slow motion, running shots like that. I think that would have been better for this scene in the woods. Instead of just being all like, slow motion, you know. But it was still cool. It was cool to kind of see that hunting kind of showcase of the orcs. I like that. And then I did like, I didn't think about it in the moment, but I thought about it now. I really like that Arondir runs out of arrows. That was always a thing that, like, movies in general, but specifically Lord of the Rings, always got, not criticism before, but comments, I would say. How Legolas never ran out of arrows except for one scene at Helm's Deep in the Two Towers. And then, funnily enough, they are in the keep, and then he has his arrows again. I'm like, but again, movie magic, continuity, or whatever you want to call it, suspend your disbelief. But I like how Arondir runs out of arrows, and he only shoots, excuse me, like 4 or 5 arrows, and he's out. But still, I like that. And then when they get to the clearing, and Arondir pulls out his sword, I was like, "Oh, cool sword!" You know, I'm not a big fan of like the High Elves and the Noldor and all their armor and swords. But I said it from the first episode. I like Arondir's armor, his bow. He has this huge long bow, and it looks like the bow of the Galadrim, you know, that carved kind of white silverish color, like Legolas's. And his sword with the curve wasn't super long. It's kind of like Arwen's sword had a fang in the original movies, which is also Elrond's sword, if I'm not mistaken. But I really like the sword. They make it to the clearing, and the sun is shining. And the music, gosh, the score, goodness gracious, it was beautiful. Just this really intense kind of like we're saved type music, like ah, and the singing, this vocalism in that part of the episode was beautiful. And then it transitions to look like the Misty Mountains and all the fog over the mountains. Beautiful shot, my goodness, that wide angle panoramic shot, gorgeous. You know, that's why, you know, I think a lot of us are fans of the films and the show, is because those beautiful landscapes. And that's also why I think a lot of people are upset that they're leaving New Zealand, because New Zealand is full of these beautiful landscapes. And that's not to say that England doesn't have that, but just New Zealand is synonymous with Middle Earth, and it'll be interesting to see the difference between episode 1 and episode 2. But let's focus on the positive. Just a beautiful shot. The singing continues, and then they're boom back with the dwarves. This seamless transition of 3 different scenes, but the same song. Beginning of this song of what's the word? I just said it. Like the song of freedom. You know, they're free of danger. You know. And then to this transitioning period, the same song happening, and then here in the dwarves, and almost a song of sorrow, because Prince Durin's wife is singing, asking the gods to like help save these dwarves out of the fallen cave. Was just beautiful, and she's just singing. And at first, I didn't even realize, I didn't notice she was singing, but just so beautiful. And I forgot to mention this. I knew I was missing something. Freaking Mithril, dude. I had mentioned that I thought it was the Arkenstone, not even thinking that they're in Moria, and Moria is known for the Mithril. And I had listened to a podcast and they talked about Mithril, and I was like, oh, duh. But really cool, and I loved the promise, you know, the oath swearing that Prince Durin and Elrond made, you know, against the rock. And Elrond, you know, made that promise on his father. And beautiful, you know, and then Prince Durin gives Elrond that little shard of Mithril. So cool, beautiful friendship moment, really, really great. And then again, going back, you know, she's singing about, you know, asking the gods to, you know, move the rocks so they can save those dwarves. And then Prince Durin comes in and he saved them all. He pulled them all, you know, all alive. He pulled them out alive. And Prince Durin's wife says, you know, I'm sorry, Elrond, I shouldn't have lied to you. And Elrond says, no, you have nothing to apologize for. You were just trying to protect Durin. You're trying to, it's you guys. And I like that. And Prince Durin is just like livid against his father. You know, he's like, he stalled the whole thing, and, you know, like, oh my gosh, I'm so mad with him. Or mad at him. And Elrond comes to him telling him a story about his father, and I said, I wish. I said, I would just be glad to hear any type of judgment from my father, because that would just mean one more time to talk to him, to hear from him. And I was just like, whoo, like, shoot, like any like father-son stuff hits me really like deeply. So I was just like, oh man, and then when I do father-son or son-to-father like lessons and guidance in any film, show, book, whatever, I do it well, and it has a really strong, good meaning. I love it, and it just reminds me of my dad, and it's just great. So I really like that. And basically just telling Dern, be grateful and take advantage of the time that you have left with your father, because Elrond's father is gone. And I just really love that. And I didn't have it on my notes, but it reminds me of it. Then Prince Dern goes to talk to his father, and his father's talking about, you know, when a dwarf is crowned king, he gets all the I forget if he says the being or the power or the wisdom or the essence or something like that, to that effect, of all of the kings before him, of all his fathers before him. And he says, but you have mine right now. You don't need to be king for me to have mine into you. And he goes, and even more so in anger, that I'm always with you. And I'm like, ooh. It's like, I'm always with you, but even more so in anger. I love that. Because you're angry at your child, not because they disappointed you or, you know, they fell short or whatever, but because you want them to be better. You're trying to help them be better. And because it's out of love. Hopefully. That's in the good sense. Of course, there's bad anger. But there's just a beautiful sentiment that even more so in anger, I am with you. And that is beautiful. And he says, I have nothing to forgive. Beautiful as well. Great father moment again. And then Prince Dern tells his father, you know, Elrond wants me to go to Lindon. What do you think? Should I go? And his father tells him, the king tells him, you know, what is he? Instinct is a powerful tonic. What does your instinct tell you? So I think it's instinct. And he says that there's more going on. He says, okay, go to Lindon and find out. And I'm like, oh, dude, like, awesome. And then we saw that shot of Eregion with the tower being built for the forge, and I'm like, they're going fast. So I think by the end of this season, we're gonna see an inkling of the Rings of Power being forged. That's gonna be exciting. So last notes, Theo talking to the butcher / tavern keeper, because wasn't he cutting up meat in the tavern? Interesting. But yeah, so he comes and gives him mash to drink to help him, you know, relieve his pain. And it was his barn he took the hilt from, because I think, what did they say? They said it was like, oh, it's the weird guy or the strange man or whatever. They don't really say anything. So it's a tavern keeper who owned that barn, who they stole the hilt from. And they keep calling it the hilt. The orcs called it the hilt. But I'm going to do hilt / Morgul blade, depending on whatever I said, because I've been saying Morgul blade for a long time. Reminds me of the ring and how Frodo would always take it out to look at it. You know, he'd always use it. Kind of similar, but it's just the temptation of evil, I would say, you know, temptation of Sauron. The tavern keeper says he had used the hilt before. He showed us the same mark that Theo has. He says our ancestors created it. And it was created for Sauron. I believe he said for Sauron. And we have to be ready when he comes. You know, you've seen it in the sky, and he said the star falling, the falling of stars, or something like that. So I'm like, ooh. So does that mean with the Harfoots, the stranger, he's a servant of Sauron coming down? Interesting. Let's see. Crazy. And then one thing, I think the only thing I didn't like about the whole episode, which is one little thing, was he's telling Theo, the tavern keeper telling Theo, like, oh, you know, you gotta be careful, you gotta be watchful, like, we're servants, and we have to wait the coming of Sauron, and all this stuff. And Theo's like, oh, but who? What's gonna happen? Oh, just be ready. I gotta go. And I'm like, what? You were just giving everything to him, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, I gotta go. Like, I get it, to build the suspense, but I was just kind of like, It was just too quick, if that makes sense. But I mean, overall, really great episode. I'm thoroughly enjoying the show. I'm excited for the next episodes. Unfortunately, the next two, again, like I said, I will be out of the country. I hope to be able to watch them. I just don't know how realistic that's going to be. I mean, I'll have Amazon on my phone, and I'm sure there'll be like Wi-Fi at the hotel that I'm staying at. But you know, I'm not going to stress too much about it. If anything, if I watch it, I'll make my notes like I always do, and then record it as soon as I get back. So yeah, this might be the last video for the next. Oh, it will be the last video for the next 2 weeks, till the first week of October. But I will have plenty of content for when I get back. I'll be hopefully taking many pictures and videos of my time there, and just kind of just doing some different content. I'm not going to promise I'm going to do a vlog or anything, because you never know what happens in the moment. But let me know what you guys thought of the episode. It was just a great episode. Just beautiful. Music was great. Costume, set design, just so good. Let me know again. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe. And if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I have my Instagram down in the description below. If you want to email me, ask me questions, talk about Lord of the Rings, whatever it is, all that information is down in the description below. Hope to see you guys next time. Stay safe. See you guys.